And welcome back to Sitting Courtside, episode 69.
Very nice.
Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Of course, it's your boy, Nice Guy Jerry here.
And just like the first 68 episodes, it's your boy, nice guy Dante over here.
We are ready to rock our last episode, or our last time recording before the new year. You guys will definitely see this after the new year, but hey, just know that we were rocking before New Year's Eve even set down. It's December 30th for us. But we're going to have a great time talking some NBA hoops. 3 big storylines that we're going to highlight for you guys, and we're going to jump right into this shit, man.
Let's do it.
So, biggest news that happened over the weekend for us and probably for most, D'Angelo Russell finally gets traded. Most Lakers fans got their wish there, but he's going back to Brooklyn for the second time, which is weird. 2 stints in LA. 2 different stints in Brooklyn. Does that mean he's going back to Golden State? Is he
very
going to
weird, very weird career destinations? He keeps going back to where he started.
Super odd, but got the full trade details here, and we'll have it up on screen for you guys as we read this off. But D'Angelo Russell and Maxwell Lewis, who's a big who moment for everybody, along with 3 second-round picks, goes to Brooklyn in exchange for Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton. So. We'll start with the Brooklyn Nets side of things before I go into LA Laker fandom, because you know how I do. But what does this mean for the Nets? Obviously, they're still trying to capture the flag. Maybe it's an Ace Bailey tank show. It kind of seems like, because Cooper's kind of struggled. But what do you think this means for the Brooklyn Nets and their last few moves? Obviously, they traded Dennis Schroeder a couple weeks ago as well to the Golden State Warriors. So it's clear it's a fire sale in Brooklyn. Cam Johnson could be next, but talk to me.
Hey, you took the word right out of my mouth. It's a fire sale. They're just doing what we knew what they were going to do for weeks. It was just a matter of when these trades were going to come about. Dennis Schroeder, now Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson, I imagine, is next. Cam Thomas might be next. They're going to be selling some guys. Ben Simmons, also, who I always forget that he's on the roster. They're tanking. Whether it's Flag or whoever else it may be, Brooklyn is... they started the season off too well. They're like, we need to slow things down here. They are the 12th seed right now. They need to get down to the 15th seed. So selling everyone. D'Angelo Russell, I can't imagine he's going to stay on the team. I think a buyout is probably going to be the best thing, or a direction that I think both sides might lean towards, where D'Angelo Russell might go after that. I have no clue, but I can imagine if they want to keep the tanking going, they'll cut him. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of honestly surprised the Nets didn't get a first-round pick back for him. I feel like that was a big, a big ask of Brooklyn with some of these players, and especially Finney-Smith, because I feel like since they've gotten him, he's been in trade rumors, or it's been like, oh, they'll retrade him for a first-round pick, whatever it may be, multiple firsts. They got 3 seconds, which is, I get, like, second-round picks have become more valuable, and it's become more of like a trade piece, as we've seen over the years, because, teams can take guys in the second round, crazy enough, and they turn out to be good. But in a way, it's like, I don't know, you're expecting a first-round pick, you get 3 seconds, like, you get something, but I don't think the Nets... I honestly, I think they could have made out better. I don't know if this is like a thing going on where they're doing the Lakers a favor or whatever, and they're like, you know what, we'll just take the 3 seconds, and the contracts evened out, so they don't have to worry about Finney-Smith anymore. But I don't know. I think the Nets, for what it's worth, the main thing here was they wanted to get worse, and they did. So they accomplished that, but maybe there wasn't another trade out there. But maybe I just think they could have gotten a little bit more than Finney-Smith from another team.
Yeah. Honestly, I partly agree with you. I think given how D'Angelo Russell has performed, which, in my opinion, I don't think D'Lo's been terrible for the Lakers, but he just hasn't been that third star that everybody assumed that he was going to become, playing alongside LeBron and AD, which is a high expectation for someone like him.
It's a big ask.
It's a very big ask.
Yeah.
I, for one, am one of those Laker fans that was never really mad at D'Angelo Russell's performances, because he showed us who he was years ago. And like that, this is just what he is. But sticking with the Nets, though, maybe they could have got a first-round pick, but I think given the fact that they're 2 bigger assets, and, both Cams, Thomas and Johnson, that is, those will probably be the guys that they actually are able to net some of those first round.
There is no way they don't get a first-round pick for at least Cam Johnson. If this is some shit where it's like the Wizards and they just get second-round picks back for everyone, that is just going to be an awful move by the organization.
They better not. Well, it's already bad enough if they don't get high compensation for those guys, then there's a problem, especially Cam Johnson.
Yeah,
there's a problem.
Big time.
And I imagine that the Lakers probably wanted Cam Johnson, but hey, they're kind of reluctant to give those first round picks unless it's going to be an established, like superstar caliber player.
Right, like Trae Young or something along those lines. Maybe a Zach LaVine, but yeah, 100%.
Exactly. So like them getting Dorian, well, we'll stick with the Nets here. Them getting D'Angelo Russell, exchanging Dorian Finney-Smith and getting 3 second-round picks. I think it's a win. I think, it could be a potential buyout situation. Maybe it could be a way that D'Angelo Russell stays there for a little while, actually could play well again because, hey.
It could be a D'Lo show. Hey, they could, no offense to him, but I don't think that them getting him turns him into a contender or anything. So they could let him go rampant. Let him and Cam Thomas go crazy.
I think, personally, I'm not saying that he's going to be an all-star again, but his best season was with Brooklyn, where he did have an all-star caliber year. But what I do think is that when guys leave LeBron or said all-star player, they usually show out somewhere else potentially, especially LeBron takes away the spotlight from what you could actually do. D'Angelo Russell was supposed to be this flashy playmaker / shot creator, was supposed to be a watered-down James Harden, who they compared him to out the draft, and he showed that in Brooklyn. Maybe since he's back, the home streets, you go hit a bodega, get you a chopped cheese, maybe you find your way back and you could actually be productive again. I'm not saying he's an all-star, but maybe he turns back into a productive player, and then that narrative of LeBron ruining careers continues.
In the Eastern Conference, who knows? He might slip into the All-Star.
It's hard to play with a superstar. But anyway, the Nets also have compiled 31 picks for the next 7 years. But enough about Brooklyn.
A lot of picks. That is a lot of picks.
Yes, it is a whole lot of picks. They have maybe a bright future. Sean Marks, I still don't really fuck with you because you made a lot of bad mistakes with the KD big three, I think, and Kyrie.
They have a bad transaction history. They have some. They have to make up for some of those trades.
Conversation for another day because I don't feel like running rampant on the Nets. But
that's not about them.
We'll go to the Lakers side of things where, again, they added Shake Milton and Dorian Finney-Smith, a potential 3-and-D fit alongside Bron and AD. Probably the prototypical player you want alongside LeBron. So react to this fit when you first saw it.
I think it's a good fit. I don't think Dorian Finney-Smith is a player that moves the needle in the sense of I don't think this turns the Lakers into a serious contender overnight. I definitely think there's more moves that need to be made. For sure. But I think adding guys like this, these are the right moves to make. And going off what I said earlier, I really do think they got him for, you can say, a steal. Because I don't know how much time is left on Finney-Smith's contract. But if you want to do some research while I'm rambling here, if it's a case where he has a few more years left on his deal. I know his contract is very manageable right now. It's not really an expensive contract at all. It could be some.
This is short. Like for the rest of the season, you'll be getting basically $15 million, and going into next year, he has a player option, which will be 15.3. So
okay. Well, there you go. So I think that. Because it could work both ways. They got him for 3 seconds and a player that they've been trying to get rid of. So if it's a rental, they didn't give up much. If he stays there long term, then they didn't give up much to have a core piece there. Yep. But I do agree with you. I think a player like this is someone that you fit perfectly next to LeBron, where he shoots 40+% from three. Very good defender. He can guard, honestly, most positions on the floor, 1 through 4 probably. I think in the correct assignments and the correct schemes, maybe you put him at 5. I don't know. We'll see what JJ Redick's crazy ass does with him. But I think it's a great move. Again, I think it's addition. You lose D'Lo, but again, he was a guy that you've been trying to get rid of for a while. I think Finney-Smith fits more in LA. I think if he continues to play like he was, it's a great addition for LA, and I think it will help them, but there are more moves that need to be made in LA.
Yeah, of course, I'm right there with you 100%. I've been clamoring for a third star in LA all this time. Dorian Finney-Smith doesn't answer those bells.
No, definitely not.
But
if they get more guys like him, more solid role players that could be starters,
Took the words out my
Then you
mouth.
got something. Then you got something.
You took the words out my mouth. Like, I
You
think
don't need Trae Youngs. I mean, it would be nice, but you don't. Those aren't the guys you just have to target.
if they compile enough guys that do things like this, the dirty work, but you need at least one guy that could create their own shot. And Dorian Finney-Smith is going to be a catch and shoot player, right? Not going to be that guy that's going to take a guy off the dribble every possession. But either way, I'm happy with the addition of Dorian Finney-Smith. It does make us a better team. A guy that'll probably play 3 through 5, maybe some small ball 5 with AD. It's taking a break or whatever it is. I assume so.
I'd imagine, right? Yeah.
I think.
No, I was going to say, I'm like looking at the roster right now and how it's like you have your 2 stars, Davis and LeBron. Then you have 2 guys like Finney-Smith and Austin Reeves. Like that's another guy that fits that role player, but it could be a starter, really can fit well. If you get like 2 more guys, I know it's like kind of like a weird thing of like what guys like that are there, but if you get 2 more guys that have that, like can play that role, but are really good.
Like legit, like again, you took the words out of my mouth because maybe we can't afford to swing for a big star at this point. Maybe the market's dried up for those kind of players. Like Cam Johnson's probably one of the last ones left, and we're probably not going to give up a first round
at this point. Yeah,
like given the circumstance of the roster, Trae Young is also playing the best ball of his career. I don't think you're getting.
They'll ask for a lot. Yeah, it'll be very hard to get.
So at this point now, like maybe Rob Pelinka pivots instead of trying to get a star, get good complementary pieces. I think LeBron plays his best basketball when you surround him with shooters and a potential playmaker. If you get a 3-and-D guy that could also create for others, you're golden. So I don't know. Either way, if I had to grade this thing, I'd probably give it like a B. I think the second round picks, like you kind of mentioned the value of them earlier. This is going to bite the Lakers in the ass probably in 2030 when LeBron's out the door and old and gray that, damn, what happened to all the draft picks? And then it's Anthony Davis and some 7th grader right now that's hooping. Like we'll see what happens, but not a bad trade for both sides in the present day.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All righty, moving on we're staying in California here.
Yes, we are.
The other big news that happened: Mike Brown gets fired from Sacramento after a couple of years.
Sorry ass franchise. It's sorry ass franchise. That they're burning down over there, bro. They are going to sell everyone. Sell the team. Sell the team. The owners need to get the fuck out of there. When you got fans fucking clamoring for the owner to sell the team as much as they are, you fire a head coach. That was the best thing that you had in 20 plus years. Mike Brown isn't. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. He's not. I'm not going to sit here and say he was one of the best coaches in the league, top 5 head coach. I'm not trying to say that by any means, but he is a good head coach. He has a good track record. He is a good head coach. And for what he has done in Sacramento, again, compared to the last 20 years that came before him, they should have built him a statue. They can't be firing him. They should be building him a statue. They had a rough start to the year. I get that, but like we've talked about it. They made moves. The front office made moves. Ownership made moves. That is the reason why this team is the way it is. Coaching does play a part into it, but when Mike Brown is saying the same things constantly and the team isn't doing anything about it and, all this and that, he said, she said, blah, 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 the coach is always the fall guy. It's always the first domino to fall, but man, is this a joke. Mike Brown, he should not have been fired. He just got an extension, and there was a whole thing of like, should he get it? They weren't going to give it to him, and they eventually did, and now they fired him. It is, if I'm the Aaron Fox, I'm getting I'm going to the front office, and I'm like, get me out of here. Literally get anywhere. I don't want to be in Sacramento anymore. This place is hell on earth. Wow. Bonehead front office, bonehead decision, Jerry. Please go ahead. If you have anything else you want to add, please. But
I mean, I think he kind of took the cake there. I mean, they were 13 and 18 under him this season, which not great, but you already kind of highlighted all the main points that we talked about it in last week's episodes, which you guys should go check out at episode 68 and one of our shorts on this too. But
absolutely.
I'll just speak for me. I did not like the signing of DeMar DeRozan. I never felt like that was necessary. I think management wanted to go chase a big name to try to see if they could string something together. and they blame the implementation of DeMar DeRozan DeMar DeRozan and Mike Brown's system as the issue that, Mike Brown couldn't make him work. He just had great seasons in Chicago. One, in Chicago. Two, you don't take a 35-year-old player and try to implement him into a younger system that likes to get out and run. Not saying DeMar can't. He's trying. He's doing his thing. He doesn't look terrible.
Doing his best.
But I just never loved the fit of DeMar. And is that the sole reason why Mike Brown got fired? Probably not. But I'm going to look at that as one of the major dominoes. It's about 75% of them signing DeMar DeRozan as to why Mike Brown is no longer employed by basketball hell. I mean, Sacramento. So, I mean, this just goes to show that loyalty is shit in the NBA, but it also goes to show player empowerment is a real huge thing.
Oh, if you deny player empowerment, then you're delusional.
Because this whole situation that unfolded while we were, eating milk and cookies with fat Santa and opening gifts, it seems like a Christmas nightmare to where Mike Brown didn't really do anything wrong. We're not in that locker room. I don't know what's really going down, but Lou Will said that, hey, he wanted to bench DeMar DeRozan. That probably rubbed some of the players the wrong way, and maybe even management. But De'Aaron Fox, I have the tweet pulled up here. Actually,
I did see that he did quote it.
He refuted it. There was never any pushback about anything. This narrative of us butting heads or going to any management saying anything is bullshit. So I'm not really buying what De'Aaron's selling.
Yeah, I don't. I honestly, for what's going on in the locker room stuff, I don't know. I don't care. It's just, we said last week, it's just going to keep getting worse. And it got worse, and it's going to keep getting worse. And just the way also that the front office managed it, dealt with it, I should say. Firing him after practice, after the media, about to get onto the team bus or plane, whatever it was. It's just unprofessional.
Yep.
They obviously have a history. Mike Malone went scorched earth on the Kings organization because they fired him years ago. Kind of different but similar situation. DeMarcus Cousins, I believe, was like hurt or something like that during that time. They fired him. Just the Kings have a terrible reputation as it is, and then you go out and do this.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. Again, I do feel for the players. De'Aaron Fox, if there's any doubt of him getting traded before, coming from me especially, a lot of it is gone now. I'm very much so in the camp of he's going to get traded before the deadline.
Welcome.
I'm like 99% bought in now because I can't imagine he's going to be staying there longer than a few months. It just seems like a bad situation. And it's also terrible because now you see this, and I think, I'm not saying it's going to hurt directly his value, but other teams will see that there's a shit show going on in Sacramento, and maybe they can keep an extra first-round pick that they would have to give out for De'Aaron Fox or whatever it may be. Yeah. I don't know.
So with you saying that, like, do you think it's just time for the Kings to embrace a rebuild, or do they try to retool? Like, what do you think?
How do you retool, though? I don't think you can. I think, no offense to Sabonis, but I don't think he's a guy that you can build around. Because if you trade Fox and you keep DeRozan and Sabonis around,
ew.
That's not. No, it's gross. I think if you trade Fox, I think you need to trade Sabonis or DeRozan as well. I don't know what the implications with DeRozan. I don't know if he's can be traded yet or not. I don't know if it's like you have to wait a year, whatever it may be. But if I was the Kings, if you're trading one, it's in your best interest to trade everyone because I don't think you can build around. You definitely can't build around DeMar at 35. And again, I don't think Sabonis is a player that you can necessarily build around. I think he's great and a fantastic number two, but I don't know if you can build around him being the number one.
And that's the issue that they painted the picture for themselves here. This is the bed that they just shat in, and they're about to lay in it.
Oh yeah, they made this bed. Oh, and this is all them. This is all their fault.
When you fire a head coach mid-season like this, it usually doesn't pan out well. At least if you were going to do this, I think it should have took place after the season was over. Give him a chance.
Why did you give him why'd you give him the extension? They should have just fired him last year.
I feel like that happens often.
Anything.
You see the rundown. You see what I have in here. Just Mike Brown won Coach of the Year in 2020.
Yeah,
I think
that's what I'm saying. Build him a statue.
I think he was the unanimous coach of the first in NBA history.
He was.
No other head coach has ever been unanimous, but he turns around basketball hell into basketball funland.
They were fun. They were the third seed. They lost. They lost in the first round, but they were fun as hell.
Yeah, like
they were fun as hell.
It was fun to watch, and they had probably the coolest celebration in sports beside the Orlando Magic theme song, where they're lighting a beam at the end of every game. It was dope. They turned the culture around.
They gave the fans something that they haven't had in 20 plus years, and that's hope.
We haven't seen the Sacramento Kings be good since they gave the Lakers fits in the early 2000s. And guess what? I was 5.
I was going to say it. We were babies.
We were kids. We were toddlers.
Yeah.
So, the fact that the Kings have been bad up until I was 25 and you were 24, respectively, that says a lot about what Mike Brown was able to do and come in. But anyway, this Coach of the Year curse is real. Mike Brown wins it, gets fired. Monty Williams won it, took his team to the finals, gets fired. We got all these names on here, which I guess we'll try to share it as we're kind of talking about it. But it's 10 plus names that are on this list that have all been removed that either have took their team to the NBA finals, some have won championships even, one Coach of the Year, get chopped out.
Fucking Dwayne Casey's the funniest one because he got fired before he won the coach. He was a finalist, got fired, and then at the awards won the award. That's the funniest one. I mean, you see it like Mark Daigneault, Tom Thibodeau, Steve Kerr, and Greg Popovich are the 4 that are still have jobs. Tom Thibodeau, Steve Kerr, and Greg are those are staple head coaches. I feel like those are household names that they're going to keep their jobs. I know Tom did get fired from Chicago back in 2011, but right now Tom Thibodeau is in a comfortable position where I think he's tenured in the NBA. You know what I mean? Where he'll always.
Same thing with Mark. I don't think Mark.
Same thing with Mark because he started in the G League, right? He has some history, whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the last few years, Mike Brown, we're talking about Monty Williams. We mentioned for Monty Williams, no good reason getting fired. Nick Nurse. Just fucking, I can go on and on. It's all fall guys, dude. That's what the coaches are, the fall guys. Where it's a lot of these situations we can nitpick and get into details. But the situations that came about with these teams, I guarantee you, most of them, the getting fired, it wasn't a fireable offense for the head coaches.
For as long as the NBA is going to be a league, the coaches are always going to be the fall guys.
1,000%.
It's a league of player empowerment. In the NFL, guys like Aaron Rodgers, they'll get traded. Or if there's a guy that wants out or it could be a cancer, you're going to be the first guy that's shipped out. That's how it works.
And some guys don't just sit and they don't play. Exactly. You know what I mean? Until they get what they want. So
that's what in the NBA it's the total opposite. We, the player, dictate what happens in this league. And I kind of like it better that way. But when it reacts to something, when it happens to something like this, where
it can be good and it can be bad.
Yeah, Mike Brown was not the issue. Management, the GM, should have been the person that's targeted because no disrespect to what the Kings got going on, they could very well turn around the season potentially. I don't know, but I doubt it.
You never know.
You signed DeMar DeRozan in hope to be better. I'm not saying DeMar DeRozan is a bad player, but I am saying that this is a terrible fit.
You can be a good player in a bad situation and a bad fit, and it just doesn't work out. And it's not working out here. Who knows? Hey, maybe under Doug Christie, the Kings go on a crazy win streak, and they're right back in the playoff hunt.
I love that. I love they signed a homegrown guy that played for the organization. And hey, I said they haven't been good since I was 5. That was one of the few players that I knew on that roster.
Doug Christie was on the roster, yeah.
So hey, man, shout out to Doug Christie. Congrats to you, dog. But you got a very, very steep hill to climb, and I hope you get there. But it might be in a rebuild, potentially.
Wouldn't be surprised if they fired him after a week.
I'm done. I don't want to talk about the Kings anymore. All right.
Let's talk about
for something else to kind of close us all here, which could be positive, depending on if you're a Heat fan or if you're not. Jimmy Butler prefers a trade out of Miami, but Pat Riley said that we don't plan to trade him, which is
he said, she said, he said, she said. I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah,
Shams put out a thing. His agent saying it's BS, and Shams sticking to it. He's doubling down on it. Pat Riley has to come out and make a statement, which I think is a terrible look. I think that was all bullshit.
Yep.
I think it was just to put something out there. That's smoke. That's smoke. Of course, Jimmy Butler wants out.
This dude's out,
and I very much so believe they are going to trade him.
I guess
very much so believe.
Give me your favorite landing spots. It can be one, it can be five. Just where do you think Jimmy Butler fits the best at? I know we talked about this a few episodes ago, but let's just kind of refresh things. You got a different landscape of the league going on. Some teams are going on win streaks. Just where does Jimmy fit the best to you?
Where does Jimmy Butler fit the best? That's a great question. So right now I'm looking at he's 35 right now, and he has a player option next year. He's currently making $48 million. Can make 52 next year. And if not,
what a guy!
I don't know if he's trying to back out of the player option if he can make more money. Anyways, I'm looking at some teams that could use his services, some teams that potentially could have the assets, whatever it may be, to acquire him. And honestly, I hate to say it because I feel like it's a basic team and it's like everyone's saying it.
You kind of have to, though.
I think Golden State.
You have to.
I think it makes the most sense. I think Golden State is clearly searching for another star to put next to Steph Curry. It seems like they are desperate to do it even. There's rumors about Kuminga, them being willing to trade him, Podziemski. The fact they made him untouchable for Lauri Markkanen is laughable at this point.
Conversation for another day.
It's like I'm looking at like Houston. I don't think should. I think they have something good going with their young core, and I don't think trading for a 35-year-old. I'm not saying they shouldn't trade for anyone at any point, but I don't think Jimmy Butler is the best guy there. Dallas doesn't make sense. A lot of people are saying Dallas. I don't think that really makes sense. I think you'd have to give up a lot to give him to even make the money work. Again, he's making $48 million. We have to match salaries here.
Yeah.
The Clippers, I've heard putting him and James there when Kawhi comes back. But again, I'm looking at Phoenix. I know has been a big talking point, but that's centered around Bradley Beal. The safest pick is Golden State. I really think that's the best spot. Or if you want to go a team that isn't contending, the Nets, maybe. But
ew.
I know it's ew, but like that's the situation where like they're like, all right, you can go somewhere where you're not going to win, but you can show out, get your money, whatever it is. I think Brooklyn, if Butler wants that, Brooklyn is the option.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely probably the best landing spot money wise for sure. Yeah, Golden State's definitely the go-to. I think it kind of has to be given their situation, their title window, what they're trying to do to maximize, Steph and Draymond's last few years that they're going to have. Probably the best versions of them at this possible point in time. So, I mean, hey, Golden State probably is the one, but I'm just looking at the standings here and call me crazy because it probably doesn't make any sense in terms of fit, primarily spacing, but what about Denver? I think
I was looking at Denver.
Like
Michael Porter Jr. So get a few guys in there, swap a few guys.
Spacing would be shitty because if MPJ's their best shooter.
He is.
So you give him up, you're probably going to be in the bottom 5 of the league. I don't know where they're at in 3-point percentage, but they'll definitely drop to wherever they're at. But you get a guy. We talk about the Warriors trying to maximize Steph and their roster's championship window, but Denver's kind of in the same boat. To where they could really use another juice, another spike. Russell Westbrook has been great for them. But that's why I hate if the two of those guys are out on the court together, I would really despise it because perimeter shooting would be ass.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe you could sign some other guys or maybe you get a couple throw-ins. I don't know how that works, but maybe Denver can get on the phone and see what's up.
I think
they need some juice.
I think the idea of Butler in Denver is nice, but it's not like Denver is in a secure spot right now. We talk about how their roster's depleted. They don't have much depth. They are getting better as the season has gone on. They're the 7th seed right now, half a game back for sole possession of the 5th seed, 2 games back of the 4th seed. But I think getting Butler is too much of a risk. As good as Butler is, and I still think he's really good, it is a big risk. And this is going to sound crazy, I think if the Nuggets make a trade with Miami to get Jimmy Butler, I might get shit for this, but I think they should trade Jamal Murray before they trade Michael Porter Jr. in that case. Because I think I know Jamal Murray and Jokic is the duo. They've been together. But Jamal Murray isn't getting any better. If anything, he's getting worse. He's not making the team. He's not bringing the team to where they were years ago. He's not able to. He has big playoff performances he did last year, but he's not the player he once was. And I really do think if they traded Michael Porter Jr. and other pieces to get Jimmy Butler, because they'd have to, I really do think that like the idea of Butler, Jokic, Murray, great, but the spacing actually would be so bad,
terrible,
that they would. I think they'd plummet down the standings. I like any trust I had in them now would be gone because I'd imagine they'd have to trade more than Michael Porter Jr., give up more bench pieces, guys that they can't afford to get rid of, unless they go out and sign guys like you mentioned. But that's a laundry list. That's like, okay, right. They can do that, but we don't know if they will or not. Again, just because of the state of the team and where Jamal Murray's at currently in his career, I think I would pick keeping Michael Porter Jr. over Jamal because at least you keep the best shooter on your team. It's crazy, but
I'm not tripping. I'm not tripping. I mean,
that's the state of the Nuggets. I think that's where they are now. I think you have to make a tough decision like trading a Jamal.
Exactly. I don't really think they have to go for Jimmy Butler. But we've seen teams in the past, right, make these desperation moves where it's like, oh, yeah, we're plummeting. We're out the playoff picture. We need to go star hunting. Like that. We've seen that before. That's the only reason why I think this should be on the table of like entertaining the fact of adding Jimmy Butler. Hey, I started out by saying spacing would be atrocious. No matter who they gave up. No matter if it was MPJ or if it was Jamal Murray.
Right.
Spacing would be
still going to suck.
It's going to be terrible. Jokic is probably going to average a career high in 3-point attempts per game. He's going to be probably the best shooter that they have.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be terrible. So I don't know where Jimmy ends up. We just threw out a dark horse team, but for sure, both of us could agree on the team that you threw out there in Golden State probably being the most ideal. Phoenix, I wouldn't mind it. I think I'd probably like it better than Bradley Beal.
I agree. I think he'd be a better fit than Beal, but no trade clause.
Like he's not
can't
going
do anything about that.
He's not going to unless he's unhappy in Phoenix. And right now, Phoenix seems like a better situation than Miami.
They're the 11th seed though. Right now, they're not great, not terrible. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see, but I don't know. It could be one of those things too, where I know he has his preferred list of places he wants to go to. Yeah. You can't count on Miami to be like, all right, yeah, we'll definitely pick one of these places. Like if Memphis comes in and offers like, some good role players, some picks, they'll take Memphis's offer, and I think Butler would be good at Memphis. But you know what I mean.
It's all about getting the best compensation possible. Yes. We want to set ourselves up for the future. But last point before we do cut it here, but I do remember seeing Pat Riley say that he doesn't like trading players because the Miami Heat organization is like a family. Some of the guys end up playing there. They end up coaching. They end up working in the building, like Alonzo Mourning, like Caron Butler's on the assistant coaching staff. Like he mentioned that, which I guess when I really think about it, this is why they never made trades for a Bradley Beal when they had a chance, a James Harden when they had the chance, Oladipo in his prime before the injuries. Like, I kind of feel what he's saying, but in this case, how bad do you want to compete?
Make a business decision, brother.
You want to compete? You want to rebuild, or you just want to stay the same? Because right now, the Miami Heat are mid.
Yeah, they are very mid.
That's exactly where they're at.
7th seed mid.
I can't see them. I would think we talked about this before, but being a top 4 team in the East or being bad enough to actually have like a top 5 pick, they're literally just going to be okay. Maybe they make the playoffs.
Maybe they are. You know who they are, Jerry? They're becoming the Chicago Bulls of the last few years, where they're not good enough to be a top 6 seed, but they make the play-in, and they just every single year. They're like good enough where they're not going to get a good draft pick because they want to compete, but they never make it past the play-in, or because at this point, top 4 seed out the window for them. Like I think if they make the playoffs, first round matchup, they're out. So it's like, do you want to compete and give yourself optimism, hope that you can make a deep run, or because you're going to be stuck in this predicament where you're going to be in that 7 to 10 seed threshold for the next few years, because that's where you are. By doing that, you're not allowing yourself to rebuild, get value back, picks, whatever it may be, because you're staying there, but you're not good enough to win anything. So it's like you're just throwing seasons away. It's kind of how I'm looking at where the Heat are going. And I'm not trying to compare, like, I know the Bulls are a shitty organization and stuff, but that's kind of what Chicago was with DeMar DeRozan the last few years. They were floating in that area, but they never made it out of the first round.
It's not really so much the organizations you're comparing. It's just the situations, which I
The
totally,
situation.
I totally,
Yeah.
because I mean the Heat definitely have one of the
Same
best
thing with
coaches
the
of all
Hawks.
time.
They're the fifth seed now, but the last few years they've been floating that 7 to 10, and they make the play-in, but that's as furthest as they go.